Good morning, students. I hope all of you are safe. Uh, in the last sessions, we completed a few grammar topics in English. Now we will be starting off with the prose section. The first poem, Unit 1, first poem 1.1, where the mind is without fear. We have a very beautiful poem written by the great Nobel poet laureate Rabindranath Tagore. The poem, I'll first give you the information about the poet. The name of this poem is Where the Mind is Without Fear. That's the title of the poem. The poet is Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore was the author of Gitanjali, and it's profoundly sensitive, fresh, and beautiful verse. He became the first non European to win the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913. This poem is one of his vastly read and discussed poems. It was originally composed in Bengali and later he himself translated it into English. Children, I'll be sharing with you a video link where you can listen to a recitation of this particular poem in English as well as in Bengali. This poem is from his Nobel Prize winning anthology Gitanjali. Now, Rabindranath Tagore is one of the few patriots who lived during the time when India was ruled over by the British. India was not free during that time. If you look at the dates, 1861 to 1941 children. So he was a poet who was a poem who lived during the time when India was still under the British rule. During the British times, people were not free. India was not free, and people were fighting. Indians were fighting for their political freedom from the British. Besides political freedom, the society, the Indian society, there were a lot of other problems that were faced by the people. How was the society during that time? There was, children, a great deal of exploitation of mankind. Humanitarianism was missing. People were exploited by moneylenders, by zamindars, British officials. There was a lot of difference between the rich and the poor. Not only that, the Indian society, another important discrimination that led to social inequality in the society was the existence of the caste system. So there were barriers of caste, creed, gender. Women were not treated well. Education was denied to a large section of the population. And there was a lot of difference between the rich and the poor. The so called rich exploited the poor. So Tagore dreams of an India which is free in every way. He talks about how he would like to have a country. It is his dream to have an India which is not only politically free, but he talks of an India where there would be no superstition, people would be rational, his countrymen would have the power of reasoning, and individuals would be logical, progressive, and would have a broad minded outlook. The entire poem is a prayer, children. It's a prayer where an appeal is made to God for social, educational, and economic freedom for the people of India. I'll read the poem. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee, into ever widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom. My father, let my country awake. Rabindranath Tagore. When is the mind free, children? And when is the mind without fear? Mind is without fear only when there is no kind of exploitation, where there is equality, where individuals can be proud of their achievements, they can hold their head high, when knowledge is free, and when the world is not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls. The poet is talking about a situation he wants to have. He dreams of an India. He wants to have a country where the individuals do not have any kind of fear. They live in a fearless society. He wants his countrymen to be free from all kinds of oppression. And he visualizes a nation where knowledge is free. Education or literacy, children, is very, very important. It is the only thing that can lead the people from darkness to light. And the poet wishes that the people in his country, they are not divided on the basis of caste, color, creed, class, etc. Where the words come out from the depth of truth, where people are truthful. The people of such nation would be truthful and speak truth from the depth of their hearts. In such a country, the people would tirelessly strive. Strive means work hard. And how would they work? They would work in such a way that their aim would always be perfection. They would work hard to achieve their goals of perfection. It is his dream, and he wants his countrymen to have the power of reason and not given to superstitious beliefs. That is why he says, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way. He doesn't want the people to have any kind of superstitious beliefs. Because in our country, because of lack of literacy at a point of time, the there were a lot of superstitious beliefs. People would easily be carried away by what the priest, clergymen, or by what the so called men in authority would say. Into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. He uses a comparison here and he compares something to the desert sand. Desert is a place where hardly anything grows. Desert sand of dead habit. What does he mean by this dead habit? By dead habit, he refers to all the old traditional rituals and customs which are very harmful. So you can talk about the custom of untouchability, sati system, female infanticide, and all such systems, customs, rituals which were there that were harmful, which did not allow an individual to progress, which came up in the way of an individual's progress and development. All those dead habits he wants to get rid. He wants the people to get rid of all those dead habits. And who is going to help him out in this? The poet is a person who believes in God. Where the mind is led forward by thee. Thee here is Old English usage. It stands for you. It stands for Almighty God. That's why capital T is used. Thee here stands for the Lord or Almighty. And the poet is appealing, it's a prayer. It is his prayer to the Almighty that he wants his countrymen to become individuals who are logical, progressive, and have a broad minded outlook into ever widening thought and action. He requests God to guide his countrymen. He wants God to guide his countrymen into a heaven of freedom. O Father, O Father refers to Lord, let my country awake. Let my country, now my country is sleeping. It's a long slumber. He compares a British rule to a long slumber or sleep. He wants his countrymen to awake, not only into political freedom, but also he would like to build up a society, an India where there would be individuals who are truthful, who are educated, who are not bogged down by caste discrimination, class discrimination, where people speak the truth, where people work hard, and their goal is towards to work. towards perfection, where they think clearly, and all the old traditional rituals and customs that are harmful give way to what you call as more broad-minded outlook. He wants them to get rid of all those dead habits and develop and broaden their outlook. He wants Almighty God to lead the mind into ever widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, where all these qualities are present in individual children. Such a society will nothing be will be more like a heaven. Into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Meanings are given here, children. Narrow domestic walls stand for division on the basis of religion, caste, class, color in societies and between countries of the world. As you are aware, there was a lot of difference or discrimination in the society previously. Even today, such class, caste, color distinction, racial discrimination exists today also. Tireless striving stands for continuous efforts and struggle. Stretches its arms means aims at achieving a goal. Dead habit stands for old traditional rituals and customs that are harmful. Ever widening, forever broadening one's outlook. Heaven of freedom, a condition of total freedom of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds while respecting those of others. You can have a heaven of freedom when freedom has got its own limitations, children. When you talk about liberty, equality, and freedom, when you talk about equality, your freedom is automatically limited because you cannot encroach upon the rights of others. So, total freedom of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. It's not enough just to have good thoughts, but those thoughts should get tran- transferred to good actions as well, good deeds as well, while respecting those of others. So, he talks about equality, freedom, education, broad minded attitude, and he wants Almighty God to help his countrymen to awaken into that heaven of freedom. So, thus, Tagore here has sketched out a very ideal form of freedom. He's not only talking about political freedom that he desires for his country, but also he aspires to bring about, he dreams of bringing about an awakening in his country that is enslaved both politically and intellectually. India was not only, what to say, slave, we were colonized by the British, and we were, that is, a country which was enslaved both politically as well as intellectually. So, along with political freedom, he wanted economic freedom, social freedom, educational freedom for the people of India. This particular poem, when you talk about it, a little more, few more ideas I'd like to share with you. This poem here is a form of prayer. Second point is it is written in pre independence period, and the poem has got a English workshop. In the beginning of the textbook, you will find that there is a English workshop. I'll share the screen with you. Yes. Here you have match the column. It's a warming up session, and before we have already finished the poem. The idea was that all these aspects are covered in the poem. That's why I completed the poem first. Column A match column A and column B. You have humanism, okay? Humanism, patriotism, internationalism, liberalism, environmentalism. Humanism, what exactly is humanism? You have to, the meaning of humanism is one matches with E. It's a rationalistic outlook towards human beings rather than a divine or a natural, supernatural one. It is reasoning out and having a positive outlook towards human beings. Doesn't talk about any divine or supernatural outlook, supernatural power. Talks about having a concern, being concerned, reasoning out and having a concern towards human beings. Patriotism, of course, this word all of you are aware of. Quality of being patriotic, vigorous support for one's country. But one's country, love for one's country, dedication towards one's country should not make one a fanatic. That means you must uh, have love and respect for your country. But at the same time, we cannot blindly support any views or ideas, even when we are patriotic. Internationalism, it is the state or process of being international. Liberalism, holding liberal or free views, whether it's freedom. Liberalism, holding liberal views. And environmentalism, concern about an action aimed at protecting the environment because we depend totally on the environment for all our requirements, food, clothing, shelter. For all our needs we depend upon mother nature. So having concern for an action which is aimed at protecting the environment is called environmentalism. When you talk about poems in English are of different types, children. You have what you call as sonnets, then you have limerick, epic, lyric, humorous, idle, elegy, and free verse. Now we have to take the help of a dictionary and guess the meaning and write the type of poem against its description. This particular part of it, I would like you to do as homework or as an activity because I want you to develop the habit of using the dictionary and the internet in order to get the meanings of these words. What you do is go to the words which are given there, sonnet, limerick, and then find out what is the meaning of each of these and where it matches with this description. Wherever it matches with the description, you will have to write it down. You try and complete this, and I will very soon, I'll also put up the answers, but I want you to initially take up this activity as an assignment or as a homework. Okay, we'll continue. Let us, so we have the poem. Now, this particular poem, this poem can be asked in two ways. One is you have a appreciation, poem appreciation, which is for 5 marks. Last year also you were aware in ninth standard you had a poem appreciation question. You have first total marks are 5, and you have a title, name of the poet, and you have the central idea or the message given in the poem, rhyme scheme, rhyming words, some figures of speech. So there is a pattern to be followed starting from with title, and so this particular poem you have it for, it can come up for poem appreciation where the poem will be given and you are supposed to write down the appreciation. That is for 5 marks. Another way in which this particular poem can maybe asked is the poem comprehension, the comprehension question. In question number 3, you have poem comprehension, that is again for 5 marks. It's a very easy poem, children. I will be sharing with you 2 video links, and I want you to go through these video links because the more we revise the poem and the more you listen to the explanation, you will get familiar with the idea that the poet is trying to express. Let us go further. So, I've given you one homework, children, and here you have the question answers for English workshop. We will discuss this at a later date, children, because many of you, I wonder whether you will be having an actual textbook with you in your hand. So, uh, once the regular classes begin in the first week of July, at that time you can get the textbook, and we'll be marking all these question answers. We'll be discussing all these question answers in detail. Now, coming back to the poem, let us just very quickly discuss the figures of speech in the poem. Figures of speech are ornamentation of the poem. where the poet uses these different figures of speech in order to beautify the poem. We have learned number of figures of speech. We have learned about alliteration, metaphor, personification, antithesis. Okay, all these are the different figure. Onomatopoeia, apostrophe. All these are the different figures of speech. But one thing that you have to remember is when you do a particular poem from the course book, there are certain figures of speech which are prominent or dominant in that particular poem. So that particular figures of speech, if supposing you get that particular poem, definitely there will be a question related to that figure of speech used. So here you have the figures of speech. The first line of the poem, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. There are two figures of speech here. First one is alliteration. You have head, held, and high. All the three begin with H. So you have alliteration. The first figure of first line of the poem, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. Head, held, high. All the three begin with the alphabet H, and so the figure of speech is alliteration. In the same line, there is another figure of speech, and that is synecdoche. 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 Synecdoche is a figure of speech, children, where a particular part is used to represent something that is entire or whole. Now, when we read this line, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, mind here and head. Mind stands for a person here. It is not just the abstract idea of the mind. That is not that he when he here talks about the mind is without fear, he's talking about an individual, an entire person. And the word head is also a part of the body, but it's not only the head. When he talks about the word the head, he refers to the entire individual, a person. So, therefore, the two words, the mind and the head, which are used as parts, they represent the whole. And therefore, the figure of speech here used is synecdoche. 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 Let's come to the third line, where the world has not been broken up into fragments. Again, you have alliteration, where W, and again you have world W. So, alliteration, prominent figure of speech here in the third line, where the world has not been broken up into fragments. The same letter W, and it produces the same sound, and therefore alliteration. Sound of the letter W is repeated. Where the words come out from the depth of truth. Again, it is alliteration. Where and words both begin with the same letter W and produce the same sound. Coming to the next line, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection. What can stretch its arms? Something that is living only can stretch its arms. So, therefore, where tireless striving, who strives? Human beings strive. Where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection. Children, it is personification. Striving is a human quality of stretching its arms to reach perfection. It is used for better poetic effect. Again, it is alliteration because striving and stretches both begin with the alphabet S. Striving and stretches both begin with the letter S, and it produces its sound. There is a better rhyming effect. Where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way. Metaphor, because reason is indirectly compared to a clear stream. A person who cannot think clearly doesn't reason out. He always will have a prejudice or a dislike. which will not have any proper reason. So, metaphor, there is a comparison of the of reason to a clear stream. When you have correct reasoning, there is clarity of thoughts, children. So, it is metaphor. Where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way, metaphor, into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. Again, it is metaphor. What is metaphor? There is a comparison between two things, and this comparison is indirect. It is symbolic, it is indirect comparison. In simile that you have learned, the comparison is usually put up using the words like and as. But here, there is an indirect comparison. It's a metaphor. Dead habit, that is, rituals and customs, are indirectly compared to the desert sand where there is hardly anything growing. Again, it is alliteration, children, because dreary and desert begin with D and they produce the same sound. So, one thing that you will notice is there is a lot of alliteration which is being used. Every alternate line, alliteration has been used by the poet. The next sentence, where the mind is led forward by thee, is apostrophe. Apostrophe is a figure of speech where there is a direct address made to something which is not present, physically present. It can be to an individual, it can be to any element of nature, but when there is a direct address, then it will be apostrophe. The figure of speech is apostrophe. APOSTROPHE. A direct address has been made here to God. The here, THEE. Old English usage, archaic word. These words are not used now in English poetry, but they were used by poets during the uh, what to say in the past, and therefore they are called as archaic words. Thee, thou, thine, blesseth, droppeth, such words were used. So thee here stands for Almighty, thee stands for you, and figure of speech is apostrophe. Into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. My Father. Again, there is a direct address to God. The poet has used this figure of speech for better poetic effect. My country. The word my country here. My country stands for all the people of the country. So therefore, stands for whole, and that stands for the countrymen who are a part of the country. Country is made out of countrymen, right? So Synecdoche, SYNECDOCHE. Country whole stands for the countrymen, that is part. So we have the figures of speech, metaphor, apostrophe, personification, and alliteration. These figures of speech have been used by the poet in the poem. It's an absolutely classic poem, children, because this poem will never lose its effect. It is the whatever the poet has said will be of value for ages to come. Till human beings are there on this earth, you can say that this poem will be a valuable poem because it has a universal appeal. It crosses the boundaries of caste, class, religion, countries, because this is something related to entire humanity. And so, therefore, Rabindranath Tagore, such a sensitive person, patriotic person, he wants his countrymen. His love for his country is reflected in this particular dream that he has for the Indian society. So, therefore, and one more thing that you will find is every line in this poem begins with the word where. Every line in this particular poem begins with the word where. Each line begins with where, that is to create an emphasis that the poet is describing an ideal country. And when the word where is used in the beginning of almost every alternate state line, it creates an idea of continuity of thought and links each of the factor that the poet describes into the whole idea of a heavenly country. So that's why he has used the word where in order to connect his idea. The first idea, the second idea, the third idea, that way. And all these aspects he would like to have in his country, which in turn will be a heaven of freedom. Children, I hope you have understood the poem. It's a very simple poem. I am going to, I'll be sharing two links with you, children. One particular link, the poem is again explained by another teacher. You can listen to that explanation also. And one more link where the explanation is slightly, it is translated into Hindi. Why I felt that you should listen to this particular, you should go through that link also is that when you listen to that, sometimes when you understand that in Hindi language, the thoughts or ideas will be very clear to you, and that will help you to remember the message given by or conveyed by the poet in this poem. Um, so first poem we have come to a close. We have completed the poem. Some question answers are there. We'll be discussing. I am also sending you an activity from the an activity, and that activity you will try and complete as an assignment. Okay. Many students have not completed their history Google forms. Children, take your online classes very seriously because we do not know how long this particular situation is going to continue. And we will be going ahead with our prose lessons. We will try to revise some of the concepts which the children have not understood when the school reopens. But as and when you get time, view these videos again and again in order to revise the lessons and start studying the question answers. Thank you, children. Have a nice time. Have a good day.